So that evening, Raquel and Will were at the Sake Cafe. They were there. It was just a regular night for them. They were there with some friends, a big group of people. And after some time at the Sake Cafe, Raquel and Will got into their Mercedes SUV, their vehicle, and they were going to drive back another couple who they knew. This couple was an acquaintance of theirs, to the car, this other couple's car. As they left the Sake Cafe, and I'll say this, that and I've talked to some witnesses, and I've done the best that I can to determine, the facts, the truth of the facts in this case. And really what I want to do here is set the record straight with regard to these factual distortions being levied and thrown out to the media by the killer's defense lawyer. So they're in the vehicle. There's 4 people in the SUV, and Will is not inebriated to the point where he cannot drive. He's not, emotionally or physically affected. He can drive. Everything's going along fine, and they're driving down Magazine Street, and suddenly, right in front of them, an orange Hummer with dark tinted windows comes to a stop, a sudden stop right in front of them. They have to slam on their brakes to avoid hitting this car. After they slammed on their brakes, the consensus in the car was that we didn't hit this vehicle, there's no damage, and because it's late at night, this car just stopped right in front of us. They decide, and this car is pulling over, they don't know what is going on. So out of concern for the safety of his wife, and the consensus of the car being that we don't know why these people in this, whoever's in this Hummer stopped so suddenly, concerned for their safety and knowing they didn't, or believing they didn't hit the Hummer, and seeing no damage whatsoever, they continued. They drove around the Hummer and they continued on their way. And as they continued, they're talking in the car amongst themselves about, what was that about? Why did that Hummer stop so quickly in front of us? Was he trying to make us hit them? They didn't know. So they drive on a very short period, and as they're talking, suddenly this Hummer drove up at great speed behind them and rammed the back of their car. Violently rammed the back of their car intentionally, causing the back windshield of their SUV to shatter, causing their heads to whip back, causing their car to fly forward and hit the Impala, a car in front of them. Shaken, being just intentionally rammed from the rear by this orange Hummer, Will checked first to make sure everyone in the car was okay. They were afraid. They don't know what's going on. Will got out of the car, and he wanted to find out, why did this guy, who they now see stepping out of the Hummer, this a very large man coming out of the Hummer, coming at Will, coming at the people that this man just attacked by ramming the car, which, in my view of the law, would be an aggravated battery to do that to somebody's car. And his passenger, a male, get out of their car. And they approach the 2 men in the Hummer, and some words are exchanged. And Will's intent is to find out, who is this guy? Why are you attacking me? And remember, in Will's mind, he has his wife in the car. Why was I just rammed? The driver, or who I believe is the driver of the Hummer, who I believe or understand is the killer in this case, was enraged. And he is yelling at Will, yelling and cursing, and he had his hands up, shaking them and making signals, and was enraged. His wife and another young woman approached Will in an effort to defuse the situation. After some time, they successfully did defuse the situation. And they walked Will back to the car. Now, when his wife walked Will back to the car, and they're standing next to the open door of the car, Will's back is to the killer. And Raquel is either, and he has his body in between the killer and Raquel. At this point, the killer follows them. And in the view, I believe, of the women, at least with Will, and Raquel is focusing on Will, that it's diffused. But the killer follows. Suddenly, 2 shots are fired. She is shot immediately in both legs, and she collapses. At this point, following the shooting of her, either right immediately or moments thereafter, the killer unloads 6 to 8 shots into Will's back. So, in all, the killer shot Will Smith in the back 8 times. No bullets entered, my understanding is no bullets entered the front of Will. He was shot in the back 8 times. His wife was shot in the leg twice. That's 10 shots that we know were fired. Now, there's been a lot of talk in the media about this being a hit and run. Okay, this is no hit and run. As I said, they slammed on their brakes on Magazine Street, did not believe they even hit the Hummer. There's no damage to that car. And they went on about their business. So there was no hit and run in this case. And there's no fender bender in this case. When that occurred, there was no damage. And when the Hummer came back and rammed Will Smith's car, that was far more than a fender bender. There was an intentional ram, shattering window, causing damage into both cars and the car in front of Will Smith's car. There's also been some talk in the media about Will Smith having a gun. At no time during this event, to my knowledge at all, did Will Smith ever brandish or carry on his person a firearm. He was licensed by the state of Louisiana, by the Office of State Police. He carried a license for a concealed weapon. He had a state concealed weapons license from state police for his protection, for the protection of his wife and his family. That firearm, I understand, was in the vehicle, never taken out by Will Smith, never brandished, and never fired. After the shooting, after the killer had shot Will in the back 8 times, I can tell you the killer, we have evidence, showed no remorse whatsoever, that he actually stood over Will Smith's dead body as his wife, who had crawled away because she couldn't walk, was cowering and hiding. The killer is yelling over the body of Will Smith after he killed him.